Probably you have heard that Latin America is too dangerous, is too risky, is too complicated, and is not so good for business. I don't think so. I think it's quite the opposite. But you have to know what you're doing with regards to relationships. I think if you know more rules, let's say, subtle, implied rules of relationships, of trust, of timing, it could be actually a great opportunity for your company or your business. So in this video, I'm going to tell you 7 reasons and steps on how to do business in Latin America so you avoid mistakes. The first one, and I will say the most important one for me, is choosing the right country and avoid stereotypes. Why? In general, people tend to put all Latin American people in one set of beliefs. That's a common stereotypes. Well, although there are many shared things, of course, that for doing business, I think that's not the right approach. Why? Because all countries are actually very different. And although we can share many similarities, culturally speaking, stereotyping is definitely not taking you anywhere when you really want to do individual business. If you judge a person for the stereotypes that you have in your head, that's prejudice, and that simply doesn't work for business. If you really make an effort to understand the cultural fit of the country that you like into your brand or your organization, I think that's the first step. It's understanding the right feeling if this country is the right one for you, for your business, for your brand. You just need to go and see and find if it feels right for you, and definitely not with the judgmental idea of a stereotype. That really I wouldn't recommend. The second important advice that I tell you to do business in Latin America is understanding the cultural drivers of the country that you want to enter. That means for me understanding what really matters for the relationships. Although this is not about stereotypes again, it's about in general the feeling that you have in Latin America is of course warmth and trust that requires time. That you don't simply do business straight away with a person you don't know. You need to understand how this person fits into the way you like to do business. So I think it's really important to understand this emotional connection, the emotional communication, or in general, emotional intelligence is quite important because it's not just about one business transaction. It's about understanding each other's perspective, understanding what do you want, what do I want, and how we can actually communicate consciously and create value for each other. And for that, emotional communication and emotional intelligence, in my opinion, are key. Third, and super important for business, is, as always, validation. Validate the market. For me, that simply means micro experiments that resonate with real people. I'm sorry that this doesn't go directly with consultancy's advice that you pay a lot of money to great high advice of a very, very important consultancies tell you what to do, but in short, they don't really tell you how to approach real people. But for me, that's wrong. If you don't have a way to validate if your business model works in Latin America with real people, I don't think that's going to be anywhere, going to lead anywhere. I think it's very important to do focus groups, orientations for people to know if it's going to work first. If people are really going to buy your product, if there is demand, if there is acceptance for the way you do business. I think it's way more valuable to go a huge part of the timing for validation instead of jumping straight away and do business transactions, for example. Fourth advice that is really, really crucial, especially for big companies or projects, is building local relationships. This has to do with NGOs, with communities, with local groups that really help you understand how your company or your project will fit in. So definitely have an idea of what the market looks like for you, and will actually, if it will be ready to understand your business, that's absolutely key. In particular, if you are a big corporation, because adaptability is not that simple, it's not that easy. So in your processes, if you have a way to create micro validation, micro experiments, focus groups, just work with communities, see how that works. I'm sure you will save some money and you can actually have great insights to integrate in your business afterwards. That will save you time and money in the end. So that's a great advice. Another advice I have for you is adapt your story. As I said, communication done with a high level of emotional intelligence is key. Well, because storytelling is a big thing. Actually, we love soap operas, we love cuenteros, or people who like storytellers. And there's a big thing for this sort of a nice joke type of thing, a very interesting way to tell the story. And sometimes I find that global brands come with a very cold shoulder or a very cold story to introduce themselves to Latin American markets, and it's simply that's just not understanding how people communicate. It's simply we are just in that part. Spanish, of course, is a very, I will say, colorful language. It's a very, let's say, joyful language that allows you to create a beautiful story around. So if you come to the exact corporate message that is a little bit cold without understanding these storytelling nuances of the culture you want to enter, I think you're missing an opportunity. And it's also quite fun to know how can you actually tell your brand story in the new market, which is a part that I love to do. Another advice that of course goes deep into the business is understanding administrative procedures as good as you can. And for that, the best advice I tell you is ask locals, ask how people have done it before. European countries are actually having more bureaucratic procedures than in Latin America. And sometimes they're a bit more rigid, and people expect that. People think that institutions, of course, we have a great system in many countries in Latin America. Institutions work, there's a democratic procedures, but the way that doing business is actually a little bit more flexible, a bit more quick, a bit more understanding of people's needs, in my opinion. I don't know if that can be controversial, but in general, what I find is that the expectations of how procedures are done are totally different. So the best advice about the whole administrative procedure is definitely have a roadmap. There's a very clear, knowing exactly what to do with, of course, government advice, regulatory institutions, all of that, but definitely trying to approach local people, local coaches, local consultants that guide you step by step so you avoid a mistake. Because definitely institutions work and they have their own procedures, but you have an expectation as an outsider that they will work in a way, and they work a little bit different. So you really need to understand the rules of the system with the people that work within the system or for the system, if they are governmental employees, or they work in general in the ecosystem of business in the country that you chose. That is a really, 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 really important advice. Last but not least, launch a pilot. Just as always, validate. I will say start small, grow fast, see if really the project works, see that if there is a mistake to actually prevent, you can actually do it if it's with a small start, and don't get so judgmental or definite if the project doesn't work in the first place or doesn't work in one of the countries that you chose. You have plenty of opportunities. You have always a reason to come back, always a reason to create more opportunities, because I think of all Latin American countries are very resilient, very open for many opportunities with not only European countries, but in general. It's a region that is very, very open from the heart, very interested in growth, in no more opportunities. So I'm sure if perhaps one of the pilots that you did didn't work in the beginning, one of the projects that you did didn't work in the beginning, I'm sure you can find many other ways to make things work for you, for your project, your business, whatever. And I hope that was super useful. And I also hope that you share or like this video if you like it. Please subscribe if you haven't done it. And And the next and last video of this series that I will do is the mistakes to avoid when doing business in Latin America. I have seen many, I have been told many, so that's going to be the last video that I will do for you, and I hope you like this 3 video series. Hope to see you next time and keep being inspired.